Embraer's aircraft are among the most common regional jets you'll find in the US, with regional airlines operating huge fleets of planes like the Embraer 175. But the unusual part here is that despite the 175 being among Embraer's previous generation of aircraft, US carriers are still buying the plane. The E-Jet E2 family is Embraer's newest generation, and it's been flying with airlines around the world since 2018, just not with any US airlines. Why is that the case? We'll touch on in today's video as we fly Royal Jordanian's Embraer 195-E2 from Amman to Jeddah. It's not only my first time on the E2, but also on a 195, so I hope you'll enjoy this exciting video flying to Saudi Arabia on an aircraft that arguably was not as successful as Embraer had hoped. Good afternoon from Queen Alia International Airport here in Amman. I've just arrived from Chicago and now have about 2 hours before my onward flight to Jeddah. Connections in Amman are pretty simple. After disembarking your inbound flight, you'll clear transit security, which today took just 5 minutes, before being released into the main terminal. Amman's current terminal opened in 2013 and has 2 main wings. Depending on where your flights arrive and depart from, you may find yourself walking a lot, but luckily there are moving walkways available. Now, I was traveling during the peak of the Middle Eastern conflict, and countless flights to neighboring countries in the region had been cancelled, so the airport was absolutely deserted. Now, this flight to Jeddah was supposed to be operated on a 787, but was downgraded to an A320neo about a week or so beforehand. Even during check-in, the flight was showing as an A320neo operating, so you can imagine my confusion when I got to the gate and found an Embraer E2 sitting there, which, don't get me wrong, was an awesome surprise. Royal Jordanian previously operated 3 of the older E-Jet family, 1 E195 and 2 175s, which are now retired. The carrier now has 4 E190-E2s and 4 E195-E2s. These aircraft are named after cities in Jordan, with our aircraft, Romeo Echo Golf, being the youngest in the fleet and named after the city of Jeddah. As of May 2026, Embraer's E2 family has only garnered 489 orders, with 286 of them still in the backlog. While the program is by no means a failure, the difference in popularity is night and day compared to the older E-Jet family, which to date has won roughly 2,000 orders, with 184 orders for the Embraer 175 still in the backlog, most of them for US carriers. And that brings us to an unrelated but still relevant topic of discussion today. Why don't any US airlines operate the E2? Why are they still buying the older 175s? The short answer is that the major US airlines and their regional affiliates operate under these restrictive pilot union contracts called scope clauses. The scope clauses limit regional jets to 76 seats and a maximum takeoff weight of 86,000 pounds. The E2, especially the E175-E2, is far too heavy for these restrictions because it weighs 98,120 pounds. Thus, US airlines, by their contracts, literally cannot operate this plane, and so they're forced to stick with the previous generation Embraer 175s, which weigh around 85,000 pounds. Now, the saddest thing here is that the E175-E2 was designed largely with the US market in mind, given how popular the older E175 has been there. But because the E175-E2 is unflyable in the US, Embraer has since put the aircraft's development on hold because there is no market for it. Now, the larger Embraer 190 and 195s are actually considered mainline aircraft and not regional jets. So how come most of the US airlines never bought any of the new E2 versions? The reason is that most US carriers, especially legacy airlines, found these aircraft to be too small capacity-wise. They would much rather fly 737s and A320s, which seat far more passengers. However, all is not lost, as Avelo Airlines recently placed an order for 50 E195-E2s, becoming the first US carrier to order this new generation of aircraft. This evening, I'm seated in 13K. Yes, K, because interestingly enough, the seats are lettered A, C, H, and K. Overall, the seats are simple and comfortable enough. They've got adjustable headrests, coat hooks, and a large seat pocket. The legroom is decent, and the flight was really empty, so I had both the window and aisle seats to myself. I was also happy to see that each passenger gets their own set of USB-A and C power. Now, despite this being an E-jet, which are notorious in the US for terrible window alignment, it was actually quite perfect on this aircraft.
Dear valued guests, may we have your attention please, as the aircraft is being reviewed.
فوق المقاعد. اربط حزام المقعد على الفور. اسحب القرع. عند سماع التعليمات اخرج السترة وضعها عبر الرأس. اربط الشريط حول الخصر بإحكام. عند الخروج من الطائرة اسحب صوت جهازك الإلكتروني داخل مقعدك. يرجى عدم تحريك المقعد.
This flight was booked as part of an all-inclusive Umrah package that also included hotels and transportation. Overall, it was a great flight down to Jeddah and without a doubt one of the most memorable of my life. Breaking my fast in the air alongside one of the most breathtaking sunsets I've ever seen, flying a new aircraft type, all while on the way to perform the Umrah pilgrimage during Ramadan, it was just an unforgettable experience and a flight I'm sure I will never forget. So shukran Royal Jordanian for a great experience. This was by far one of the fastest immigration experiences I've ever had anywhere. Less than 2 minutes and I was already at baggage claim and ready to catch my bus over to Mecca. Thank you all so much for joining me today and I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, take care and I will see you all very soon. Ma salama.